never bearing a certain degree of pain inflicted by illness, loss, or violence. Never a human being says, I suffer. I say never because I became sensitive to this strange rarity, to this deft restraint, to this obscure refusal of saying with a clear voice, I suffer. Never I suffer tells the evidence of a so-called human life. A simple look, a look that sees, a look that does not fight to perpetuate the dream of oneself. This dream being an hypnosis instead of an ode to joy, the hypnosis of being drowned in one's image without seeing oneself, without being able to see it, like a copier made of a single image, its image, sewing the emptiness of its mirror while imagining its image, sliding along the rails of time, backwards and forwards, forwards and backwards, ploughed, laminated, quickly dissolved into nothing, buried in a grave to keep hiding itself, its flesh of dead thing, of a slave forever recycled on earth. A simple look on what is called the history of humanity. A direct look on this daily battlefield. An open look in this penal colony of everyone would only see, I suffer. Yet human beings do not say anything about that. Who cannot say I suffer? Except a machine. I suffer is a contact. No machine has contacts, except a virtual contact, with anything. It works. It is used to work until it breaks. The singularity of the human machine is that it works in its reflection. A subtle organic machine, an obscure body of machine, dedicated to passionately picture itself and called human body. Humanity is working in a prison of mirror, with an opaque material, like the night of a blind person. The metaphor doesn't matter. The dizziness is this endless work in the mirror of an abyss. How is this possible? This endurance of damned soul, except due to insensitivity. This summer 2015, scorching of pollution, I felt for the first time ever that there was no longer air in the atmosphere. Our respiratory oxygen is becoming scarce. This feature of the global atmosphere, swamped with self-destruction, is becoming the invisible condition of human genocide. It is the species viability that is dying, as an obvious and hardly perceptible sign. Because humans have no contact with their main existing condition, breathing. They forget the evidence that the so-called physical death is the end of breath, or the withdrawal, or the wrenching. And that, when it comes to the end of breath, the direct asphyxia of their biological structure, it is the only effective consideration. The fact that the molecules of oxygen are dying in our surrounding air shows just how our sleepwalking mechanicity is. Only metal can endure a deadly pollution. Then, which metal constitutes us? Towards which metal revelation of itself is the so-called man pushed by asphyxiating with its humanity, soon melted in the robotic functioning of its fantasy of being human? The acquiescence is acquired. Everyone is so thirsty for not seeing themselves anymore, not being able to feel themselves, in fact, at last. Machine, let's get this over with. What insane pain is crying in this biological body that will have only been crushed since time immemorial? Everybody was completely taken in, believing there were this human body. What if death was just this belief that the real is now making unbreathable? It is to believe that we are just a human body, to be martyring our breath so much. A body made to martyr itself of all its belief, the religion of the man hallucination. This summer 2015, I say to myself, there is no hell on earth. The hell on earth is earth. Do you see? Do you see where you are living? In a lying reactor that does not detect anything, crushed in the iron fist of an ignorance, of insect. You are the daily food of vital interests. They chew you. They kill you by chewing you. It will have lasted your whole life. An image of perfect cruelty. What your thought calls your planet, Earth. It is the hell as you imagine it. It is not about persuading, speaking where there is nobody to eat, in the space without germ, to the call of breath. Man is a dust of asphyxia, enraptured in planet. It does not feel the atrocity of it, because it is cold, of a subtle cold of metal. It is calling the torture because it does not feel it. It has no body. Man means a particle that is being tortured. Earth, the image that this word forms, emits this climate. Earth is a climate of torture, and man is at the point of calling that living. Is this sufficiently striking? What does it need to arouse suspicion that it is a race of crematory oven, a slave of a military industry dedicated to crime? At which degree of torture will it finally meet itself? I suffer is a strange man, stranger and playing to be man. The stranger of I suffer, here is what we are. Yes, I suffer. And today, from my trip to the life of all of us, I confide to all of you what I suffer tells me in pain. I am not what I am. I suffer. I suffer from feeling my being slashed by the man I believe I am. I see me alive, calling life this machine to die, and that avoids to feel I suffer, the supposed human called man. I see me believing I am my life of death man. I suffer because of my killing. I am sentenced to death. It is a hole in the heart, this pain. The hole of a cry in the pain of I am sentenced to death. The whole can now be heard without space. It is crying. It is crying in one go, in the non-verbal evidence of words. I am cut off from me. Being is the evidence of life. Not oneself, but being. I am being. Blind to the power of evidence, deprived of the being I am, to the point of not being able to think about it. We call it a man. But suffering from that, with the look open, crying because of that, of an incomprehensible cruelty, of direct absurdity to the root of I suffer. As a result, I see the sun that I am of being, feeling this so burning simplicity of being, and that it is under hypnosis as man. I am there, of I suffer, at this ignition key,